Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Align with Victory. Today is August 22nd, 2026. Today we have a I have received a dream from the Lord this morning about persecution that is taking place in a hospital right now. And of course, the Lord is calling me to share this with you so that way we can pray. We can pray for them to have hearts of remorse, guilt, to have hearts of repentance, hearts of um, empathy, compassion, mercy, grace, and overall a strengthened work ethic. He's calling for us to pray for patients who are targeted to receive Psalm 91 care, to receive Psalm 91 attention. Okay, so it is really hard. It is really hard to listen to this dream. But overall, I want you to also keep in mind to take this back to the Lord, to use your discernment as you hear this dream, to use your discernment, and to overall keep in mind that this is a dream. This is a dream with interpretation. So not everything that is taking place in a dream is going to be taking place literally in the physical, but it's overall just showing you what is done in the dark now being brought over into the light in the dream. Okay, so everything has interpretation. We're going to go ahead and go over everything, and we just ask that you just be still. Just be still. And then pray, intercede. Okay, all right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So in the beginning of the dream, just to start off from square one, I came across my cousin, and we start walking together. And as we're walking and talking and catching up with each other, we're walking into a hospital. And in this hospital, there it looked really dead. It looked really dead. Lights were really gloomy. There was no activity, no nurses walking around. There was no patients walking around, no or like any patients nearby. There weren't any like visitors. There was no activity of anything really taking place. And then I noticed that when we walked into the hospital, like we came in from maybe like a back door exit, somewhere from like the back, way back. Yeah, like where we walked into, it was really sketchy. So we walk into the hospital. Okay, she's carrying this big box, and we're just talking, catching up. She puts the box down, and she goes to like hurry to push a red button. It has no coding, it has no labels, anything like that, right? So she goes to push on the button, and from there, alarms start going off. Even louder alarms start going off. So I'm sitting there, and we're waiting for like for something to happen, for nurses to come, doctors to come, for something to happen. And I told her, I was like, hey, like how did you know how to push that button? How did you know to do that? And she was like, she's I don't know. She's like, I don't know. So and then as we're waiting for staff to come, I'm realizing, I'm taking a look back, like, wait a minute. So when we were walking in, there was alarms already going off. There was lights already blaring off, but they were so faint that it hit me later on, standing there, like, oh, wait a minute, like, there was already alarms and stuff going on as we were walking in. I didn't even see, I didn't even hear. And in the dream, I was like, I guess we were just too into our conversation where I didn't notice. So I'm taking a look around. I'm looking at the hospital. Um, oh, you know what? Let me just start off here first. So the Lord is showing me that, because remember I told you, when we walked into the hospital, it was pretty sketchy. It was pretty dark. There wasn't really much activity going on. There was nobody there. There was a front desk, but nobody was working that front desk. And then he's showing me how everybody else was way over, like, on the other side of the hospital. There's a lot of activity. They're really busy. Everybody's running around. Everybody is just working. I'm seeing patients right here sitting down. I'm seeing nurses running around the way back and forth, checking like on like with like clipboards, and I'm seeing front desk. I'm seeing like everybody's like really interacting with one another over there. But over here there was no activity, right? So again, because this is a dream, this is overall symbolizing that they placed the patient in the back of the hospital, or somewhere maybe like southeast, so just somewhere really far. And because I was walking into the hospital with my cousin, and I'm like, wait a minute, like, oh shoot, like I didn't even hear any alarms. I didn't even see that. I don't know how. They were so faint, symbolizing that because these alarms are so faint and so low, it just is symbolizing that they placed her in a very specific place in the hospital. They admitted her into a very specific room with that intention. Um, and it also does symbolize that, like, not only was it a very specific placement, but also very specific that they, with everything being so faint, that they didn't give, that they didn't no that they know that they do not give the patients the care, the proper care, or even like the bare minimum of the care that they are supposed to supply to the patients. Okay, so everything's very specific. The placement, her room, where her room was at, and the fact that everything was so low, and their lights were going off, but they weren't so, they were just flashing red, little beacons of light, and yeah, just overall symbolizing like they don't care for the patient to, in the reality, to have them. Yeah. Please excuse me. My mind is a little bit. Yeah. So I also want to go ahead and point out how my cousin, she pushed the button. I'm standing there. We're waiting for nurses, doctors, something. We're waiting for something. Like my instincts told me that she had pushed like a code blue button. So she pushed a code blue button, and all of a sudden there was alarms that sounded off. When she clicked that button, there was alarms that sounded off that were even louder than the ones that were really faint. Wow, this is really sad. Yeah, so they were like louder than the ones that were already turned on. Okay, so keep in mind that this is supposed to be a front desk where somebody is supposed to be working, just like how they're working on the other side of the building, the other side of the hospital. Nobody's there, but this code blue button is there. And yeah, nobody's there. So already, hearing by the way everything is going, everything's just gonna go downhill and downhill and downhill from here. As I'm waiting for the nurses, the doctors, I want you to keep in mind that we were waiting for about 2 minutes. As I'm looking around, I'm seeing that there are 2 lights. With these alarms, there's 2 lights. There's one green and there's one red. So one of them is still and green, and then the other one on the other side is red, and that one's flashing and that one's sounding off. The Lord even put like little like strikes just to like beacons of light to make sure that I know that it was urgent. Okay, so we're waiting there for about, it had to be at least 1 minute, 2 minutes. So that is really, really bad, because that symbolizes that they take their time. With code blues, let's see. So a code blue in a hospital means a life-threatening medical emergency is happening. It usually means that a person's heart has stopped, cardiac arrest, or that they have stopped breathing, respiratory arrest. The alert names the exact location so a trained team can rush to help. The patient cannot breathe. Every second is very crucial and vital to make sure that you need to do everything that you possibly can as fast as you possibly can to make sure that the patient does not die. So you have to move fast and you have to move quickly. Um, so yeah, so we were waiting there for about a minute, about a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes at most. And I'm just looking around and I'm just like, dang, like I'm like there's nobody here. It's dark. It looks closed. The facility, it looks closed back here. Like, are we in a hospital? Where are we? Like, wait. So then all of a sudden nurses start rushing in from all the way to the other side where there was so much activity. Nurses start running over. And I'm seeing here that like they run into the room and I look over and I see a nurse where she is walking in with a gurney. She's walking in with a gurney. And I thought that was really suspicious. So she's walking in with a gurney. And I told her, I was like, hey, what did I say? I said, hey, she was calling for help. The patient, like, hey, she's calling you for help. And the nurse walking in with the gurney has no urgency to her body language. She has no urgency. She is walking in really slowly, and she had enough time to even be friendly with me. She even had enough time to be friendly with me. So keep in mind, let me see. I gotta get my notes out just to remember. Let me see. One second. Yeah, so I told the nurse, hey, she was calling you for help because they took a long time, so I had to speak up a little bit for the patient. And then the nurse says, yeah, girl, it's because there's two signals. She said one is good and the other one is bad. Okay, so she said one is good and one is bad. So in the dream, I knew that she was talking about that green light and she was talking about that red light. So the green light was lit. And that is why, no. Excuse me 1 second. Okay, so I'm receiving two different interpretations. The very first one is I'm gonna go ahead and go with the one from the morning. So the very first one is that the reason why it was green was because patients have this, from what I've heard online, is that they have like this emergency button, or they have like a nurse call button, and they will use that to ask like for food or to ask for like, can I get an extra blanket, things of that nature, when it's supposed to be used for emergency purposes. So I looked it up. As I received that, I looked it up. I asked ChatGPT because I've only been in the hospital for a few times. I'm not really familiar with how things are ran and operated, only the basics. So I asked about a nurse call button and an emergency button. And I asked, like, would I use the nurse call button? Like, would I use that if I were to get into an emergency and needed assistance from the nurses, medical attention? And ChatGPT said usually yes. In many hospitals, a nurse call button is also the same button a patient uses to summon help during an emergency. You don't necessarily need to find a separate emergency button. If you have a life-threatening emergency, press the nurse call button and clearly say, I need emergency help, or this is an emergency. Some hospitals do have a separate emergency button, so the exact setup depends on the hospital. So I'm receiving the first interpretation is that it was green because they automatically expected the patient just needed, or like I said, one just wanted an extra blanket, one maybe wanted like something from the food court. That is what they initially expected. So that is why they said, oh, like, well, yeah, girl, because some is one is green, and or like one is good and one is bad. Green means they just wanted something, they just wanted help with something. Bad, life threatening, emergency. So that's the first interpretation, is that that's what they automatically assumed. And then I'm also receiving another interpretation where, and this, keep it in the, just for note, this could also be in like symbolizing the heart postures of the staff, like heart postures, intentions, no good. So the second interpretation is that it was green because the light was green because um, they knew the patient that was in the room. Like I said in the beginning, they put this patient in a very specific room in the back of the hospital, very sketchy, very dead, very gloomy, no activity, nobody's around. The sirens were really low. The sirens were really low. The lights were really low, where nobody even knew that there was an emergency going on in the back of this hospital. So there's this interpretation is also signaling that because they knew who was back there, like this the area for this patient, green means good, that they don't really have to check up on the patient, don't really have to pay too close attention to her because they know already the end result of what they want from this patient. Okay, so so the end result meaning death. Like they know what to expect from this patient, and they know what they want from this patient. Yeah, so as I'm explaining it to you, so you have two separate people where they look at the green light like it's good because they just expect her to just need something basic needs or assistance. And then you have another group of people in this hospital where they targeted her. They already know who the patient is. They put her there for a reason, and they know the end goal. They know that they want the patient to pass away. So here, 1 second. So remember, with the code blue, every second matters. Every second matters to save the patient's life. So there's a code blue alarms going off. The whole shoot, I forgot what they call it in the hospital. But there's like a certain when the floor, like when alarms blare and go off on a floor. So that was happening. We have nurses who were going into the room. There was no doctors, only nurses in this room. So nurses go in there. They run in there. I can't see what's going on yet because I'm over by the desk. And I'm talking. I start shouting at a nurse. I was like, "Hey, the patient needs help. They were calling for your help." And she walks in there with a gurney. She had is it a gurney or yeah, with a gurney. She has no urgency to her. She has no urgency to her body language. She walks in slowly, regularly, casually. Actually, she walks in casually into the room as the alarms are blaring and going off. No, actually, the alarms, they tone down so that way in the dream I can hear her. I can hear what she's saying. So, like I said, she was walking in with a gurney. She said, there's a good light. She said, there's a good light. There's also a bad light. Typically with gurneys, they're like beds to transport the patient. These are beds to transport the patient over to, it could be to another room, to a surgery room. It could be, yeah. Let me see. Yeah. So in hospitals and ambulances, this gurney in specific, the reason why she was walking in there was because, again, already there's red flags with her not having any urgency to her. Okay, she's walking into the room. She has this gurney in mind, knowing the end result of this patient. Because for her to walk in there with the gurney already while the alarms are blaring that there's a code blue taking place, the patient is still alive. The patient is still breathing. They just need help to like open up her airways. So, and when I woke up in the morning, I thought that was I thought that was very suspicious, because you're not supposed to do that unless you're moving the patient or unless they die. So the gurney is also used for when they die. You often see this with ambulances. They'll go to they'll go on the scene, and if the patient dies on the scene or passes away, they will place the patient on the gurney, and they will place like a black cover over the patient because they're no longer with us. So she went in with the expectation that this patient is about to pass away, not even giving the patient a chance. So, one moment. So, after some time, and I think I forgot to, yeah, I did. Okay, so I couldn't see what was going on. After she walked in there with the gurney, I'm like, you know what? Let me go see. So I slowly, again, everything in this dream is very intentional. Everything. So the everything in this dream is symbolizing and going over what's actually taking place underneath the mask, underneath the false realities that they are giving to the patients and to the patient's family that is mourning, that is in hope, that is waiting for their loved ones to get better, waiting for their loved ones to get cured. This is what's happening behind closed doors in this hospital. Okay, so I'm standing there, and I'm like, I can't see. So remember, everything's intentional. I walk over to the room. I walk over to the doorway entrance, and I'm like, let me go ahead and let me just see. So I take a couple steps. I go in, and I'm watching everything play out, and I'm seeing several people. I'm seeing several different types of people in the room. Okay, I'm seeing the lady with the gurney by the door. She's standing there at the door, waiting. Her face is blank. We have staff that is it's like they're in chaos in the room. They're like removing catheters. I just heard that. So removing catheters. They're like removing like the packaging, the plastic, getting rid of everything. They're getting everything together, but in the dream specifically, their hands are wrestling. Their hands are just wrestling in trash, in with the medical devices. So basically saying that you have staff who is making it appear that they are working, making it appear that they're doing everything that they possibly can to assist the patient, but they are not. So that's just what that interprets. We have patients as well. We also have patients as well where there's about, no, not patients, I'm sorry, nurses. We have nurses in the room. There's about 4 of them, 4 young ladies. I would say they're like maybe 27, 25. They were all really young, and they got into formation. I saw them as soon as I walk over there. I'm glancing at everybody, and I'm seeing that there is, they're standing there, and they put their hands like this, but down. They're pretty stiff. Their hands are pretty stiff down. And they like robots. They got their hands like this, and they took a step back, looking at the patient. They're looking at the patient. They take a step back. They just stand there. They're waiting. They're waiting for the patient to pass. I'm also seeing on the other side, towards the door, that there is about maybe 3 other nurses who do the exact same thing on that side of the bed, on the other side of the room. They do the exact same thing. They stand right there. And I'm just now noticing, well, okay, yeah, so we're going to go ahead and move on. So, they just stand there, and they just, look, they're just watching. They're waiting for the patient to die. I'm taking a look in the room, and I'm looking around, and the interpretation of me just standing there looking around is so that way you know that they had plenty of enough time. They have plenty of enough time to resuscitate the patient, to help her, and to save her life. Also, the interpretation of me just standing there looking around is that way we can see the realities of what they're doing in this hospital. So you have others who are right there who are making it look like they're doing something. You have others right there that are just waiting for her to die. And then you have the lady with the gurney in the back just waiting for her to die or pass away. Let me see what else. But the Lord is also telling me that in this hospital, you do also have those with integrity as well. You have those with integrity. You have those who he's giving me a vision of Grey's Anatomy. There's a doctor. His name's Dr. Schmidt. Okay, he's underdog. They didn't take him serious. He had to fight his way up to the top. Okay, so this doctor got his way up to the top because he was a hard worker. He was like full of righteous anger. Like he was very serious about his work and very serious about what he did. So the Lord is also telling me that there is those types of workers in the hospital, but unfortunately they are outnumbered, or they're overridden. I'm hearing the word overridden. Ooh, okay. So I had to look that up. So to override someone means to use your power or higher rank to cancel or to change their choice. It means your word wins over theirs. How it works, so it could be like a rank. A boss can change a rule made by a worker. It could be taking control. So you do have Dr. Schmitz in the room who are doing everything that they possibly can. You do also have others you do also have another group where they were like making it look like they're working, but you do have, I remember specifically seeing like a type of, they're very small. So keep in mind, there were so many nurses in the room. There were so many of them, but you had like one Dr. Schmidt in the room. Like one. There was one in the room where he fades away. So he's in the room, and so Dr. Like him is in the room. He looks like him, but it's like supposed to symbolize him. And he fades away. This person who's supposed to symbolize a doctor like Dr. Schmidt. He's like, they're like fixing things and getting things ready, but they fade. Like they transition out of the dream. So Dr. Schmidt was also known for him also, I believe he always wanted to take initiative. He always wanted to like take charge and like, no, like we should do this. Like this is the right thing. We have to do this. But because he was underdog, they didn't take him serious for the way he looked. They didn't take him serious because they just like social status things. And yeah, he was always being overridden by other people's rules, regulations, procedures in operating rooms, surgery rooms. Yeah. So you do have those doctors that are filled with integrity, that are filled with a great work ethic and a passion for what they do, dedication to what they do, and dedicated to saving lives, because that is exactly what they went to school for, that is what they signed up for, and that is their life's devotion. Okay, so you do have those who are in the room, but they transition out, symbolize interpreting that they have been overridden by someone in authority who who is making everyone do things their way. And the only way that this Dr. Schmidt, one or two of them in the room, is being overridden is because they're outnumbered. They're overridden because they're outnumbered. So you do have a few in this hospital who are like that, but unfortunately they're outnumbered. So yeah. Okay, so again, I'm in the room. Everything is slow motion. Um, After scanning the room to look at everybody, all the nurses, there's no doctors present. Taking a look, we see the Dr. Schmidts right there. They fade away. And then you know what? I have to apologize because I accidentally gave a misrepresentation. So the ones that were making it seem, when I had said that there was doctors that made it seem like they were working, um, they were supposed to symbolize the Dr. Schmidt. So I accidentally gave the wrong information. So they are the ones who are supposed to symbolize Dr. Schmidt, where they're doing everything they possibly can. They're actually doing their best to try to help, but because there was so much authority in the room that outnumbered him and overrided him, he was unable to do anything, which is why he transitioned out of the dream. He faded away. Okay, so yeah, so I cleared that up, and now I'm looking at the patient. Now the dream moves on to the patient. I'm looking at her, and she, of course, was targeted because she is black. She's targeted because there is certain she has a very specific appearance to her, and that is what made her eligible for these types of demonic procedures and protocols. So I'm looking at her, and first I want to get out the way that, or I just want to go over her appearance. Let me see what she was wearing and stuff. Let me see. So she was in her late 30s, maybe 40s, maybe even, like late 30s to 40s, maybe like 45. So she had dreadlocked hair. The Lord zoomed into her hair. She had gray hair. Like she was, I think that's like in your 30s when it starts, where like the gray hairs start to come out. They were very small, really faint, but overall he highlighted that to like show me that was also a very key trait. It was her age that also made her a target. Let's see. Yeah, she was targeted for her age, for her skin color, for her demographic, and she looked like to be about maybe 5'7" or so as well. Let me see, maybe like, yeah, she was tall. She was. So she was targeted for her background, for her appearance, okay, and that is why she was in the back of the hospital, or towards the way back. So taking a look at the patient, taking a look at the patient, she's on the hospital bed, and the rails were down, all the way down, but I'm looking at the patient, and she has she's laying there and she's laying crooked. Like the bed is like this and she's like that. She's like and then like when I look at her I think of a child. Like the Lord gives me like or he reminds me of like a child who's in the back seat, they're in a car seat and you look back and they're so uncomfortable, their necks are like about to snap and you just want to help them, you know, like to like give them the support that they need as they sleep. So it was a reference like that. So she was laying down, she was slanted, she was crooked, she had her arms like this. She had her arms like stiff and she's like that. And the Lord specifically brought to mind that as she was laying there, that she had a very meek spirit to her, or like a very timid spirit to her. You know, I think of somebody who is like too shy to really ask for something, or like someone who's really sweet, kind-hearted. You know, like she had that type of spirit to her. So that's why she was like her body language was pretty stiff. So he brought that to mind and he like acknowledged that it was really sad how like you could even be like a sweet person, a kind person, and simply for the way that you look, like you could be targeted and set up maybe and just yeah and just marked for death. That was something that made him grieve heavily, because the Lord is really big on us having kind hearts. He's really big on us like displaying the fruits of the spirit. So like kindness, um, meekness, peace, love, joy, self-control, all things like that. So when we're displaying those fruits, you know, he really looks out for us extra hard, okay? He does. Um okay, and also another thing is I'm in the room. Nobody's touching the patient. Nobody, but there's a ginormous beacon of light. There's a ginormous beacon of light over the patient, hovering over her. And basically, anytime that you see a beacon of light shining over anything in the dream, that is the Lord indicating to you, hey, you need to look here. We need to like, it's normally like of urgency or of like, look at this, look here, look, to catch your attention. But normally, it's to indicate like, you really need to know this, and you need to know this now. Um, so she had this ginormous beacon of lights over her, and then and then it's just so sad because it gets even worse. It gets even worse from here, where I'm looking at the patient and she has an oxygen mask over her, but it's not even connected. So I'm now realizing that when you get admitted to the hospital, you're supposed to, I guess, they're supposed to put like a oxygen, like to keep oxygen to have oxygen going to your nose. She didn't have that. She had one of those where it was like that, like she had one of those oxygen masks. It wasn't connected to anything. It wasn't connected um to an oxygen tank. It was just the mask. I'm looking at her. She has casual clothing on. She has casual clothing on where she has her tennis shoes on still. She has jeans on and like just a random like sweater on. No IV. She has no wristband. She has no hospital gown on. She has no hospital gown on. So she in this dream, what this is supposed to interpret is that they did not give her not even the basic care that she's supposed to be receiving. It also is symbolizing that they gave her poor care, where they never came in to really check on her. They never really came in to give her like the hospitality of like welcoming her into the room. I looked it up, and I guess you're supposed to have like a wristband placement, an allergy band application. I don't even know. Let me see. Like the oxygen mask. Sorry, I heard something outside. And then also, yeah, the hospital gown, things of that nature. I think they even give you hospital socks too. She didn't have any of that on. She looked like she just came in from outside and they just put her on the bed and just left her there. So that right there was really sad to see. Um, yeah, so it's just symbolizing that she received poor, like little poor or little to no care or attention in her room. Um, to even give her the basic necessities. Um, what else? Okay. And then what's really standing out to me right now is the nurses that are just standing around. There's a beacon of light on her. Alarms are blaring. Alarms are going off. I'm also hearing like her heart rate is going down. She cannot breathe. This patient cannot breathe. But it's so sad because she's just like, she looks, she's unconscious and she's just laying there and she's crooked. And I'm standing there, and also just set a reminder that everything is going slowly. Everything is going slowly because is to symbolize that they had more than enough time to help her. They have more than enough time to help her. And there were so many in there. There was so many. I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. Yeah. And then you have that one Dr. Smith that left. Yeah, there's a lot of people in there. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I'm standing there and I feel the fury of the Lord in my chest. I feel God's anger and his frustration inside of my vocals and inside of my heart and inside of my chest. He is very angry at the staff for what they do. He's very angry at the fact that they target his children because they have a stereotype where they believe that this type of demographic, like basically like looking at the appearance of the patient, because she was black and she was tall and she was a little bit heavy set, so they automatically assumed and took her for like dangerous. They took her for a threat. They took her for somebody that she never was, because the Lord revealed that she had a timid spirit to her. The Lord revealed that she had humility to her. Like she just had a meek and gentle spirit. But because they thought those things, that's why they went down this path of just allowing the patient to just pass away. So, or at least moving to get that end result is her death. So, I feel the Lord's anger beating through my chest. It's righteous. And then I start shouting, like he took over me. He like possessed me. He took over me and he starts praying through me. And I start saying, in the dream, I'm shouting out, we command her heart to open now in the name of Jesus. And then I said later on right there, I shouted it though, like with authority, with courageousness, with boldness. Like he took initiative to intercede for her and to do their jobs. So he came in and I said he had me speak like, or he speak through me, like we command her heart to open now in the name of Jesus. We command her throat to open now to receive oxygen in the name of Jesus. And I shouted that out, and I just remember like we all got blown away, not literally like whoa, like oh. And that light that was shining over her turned into like a ginormous beacon of light. Like the whole entire room was filled with light and with like the energy, like the Lord's presence, and what looks like energy, like just a bunch of light just in the room. So ever since then, so after that, I woke up and I was in disbelief. I was in disbelief. Okay, so the Lord came in, his presence came in, he took over. The Lord resuscitated the patient. The Lord had me pray for her heart to open to receive the oxygen, and for her throat to open to receive the oxygen. Because no wonder why she did have an oxygen mask on. So overall, like, they were the ones supposed to be pumping oxygen to her through the mask, but again, nobody was touching her, it wasn't connected. So the Lord came in to give her that breath that she needed to save her life. The Lord saved this woman's life, okay? And the crazy part about this as well is that this is a real person. This is a real person. So he had me intercede for somebody who was about to go through this. He had me intercede this morning. He went ahead to make sure that she was going to be okay in advance. All right. So through this intercession, because we both went ahead to help her out, right, through this prayer, and through him, like, praying through me in the spiritual realm. So with this, he advised me that yes, it's still going to happen, yes, but that through this, through her, like, being saved at the end of the day, it is going to bring a big wake-up call. It is going to bring heavy conviction. It is gonna, like, him saving her life before them all in advance, right? So they expected their, like, as she went in today, they expected her to die, but the Lord came in to intercede, so she did not die. So through her being able to live, he is going to bring heavy conviction, heavy rebuke, like a pruning and a refining, that he is going to put them into the fire, to have them see themselves for what they are, to have them see themselves for what they did. So these nurses, these staff members, they have blood on their hands. They are murderers. They have blood on their hands, okay? So he is going to wake them up to the reality of what they are, because oftentimes in the healthcare industry, you're not supposed to feel. So they desensitize you and they train you to not over empathize, to be very restricted and very limited, and preferably to have, like, no empathy, no, I'm not saying empathy, I'm sorry, that's too harsh, too far, too quick. They can only give so much, okay? So they can only give so much, and there's a lot of desensitization in the industry. A lot of desensitization. So through this testimony, through them expecting her to pass away, the Lord came in. So they're going to be like, so they were like, oh, wow. Oh, so now they know that the Lord has stepped in. Now they know that the Lord has taken over, that the Lord sees them. They now know that the Lord exists. Now they know that the Lord exists. So now that they know, now that their eyes have seen and their ears have heard, now he's going to take them through a refinery process where they get stripped. They get stripped of evil, of wickedness, of old ways, of what the industry is teaching them, and what their everyday life teaches them, how to, like, be of a heart and heart posture, versus what humanity really is about, what their job duties are really supposed to be, versus what the healthcare industry is teaching them. So he's going to take them through a heavy process, and he is going to reveal to them that their hands are filled with blood. And in the end of this process, they're going to be overwhelmed with guilt, with remorse. They're going to see people not as for what the healthcare industry wants them to see, a number, a patient number, just a patient. That they are now going to see people for the way the Lord sees them, the way the Lord's heart posture sees us. So, yeah. And I know that one of the healthcare members that did this, it's gonna be a while, but I know that it's a she, that I know that one of the nurses is going to see this video in the future. And I am seeing her watching my video, and I'm seeing her overwhelmed. I'm seeing her with tears in her eyes. I'm seeing her with guilt in her heart. I'm seeing her with regret in her heart. And I'm also seeing that they are trying to justify why they did what they did. Oh, well, like, well, because there was a hiring command. That's the way they've always done things, so that's the way we had to do things. But at the end of the day, we are all held accountable to our own actions. We are all held accountable to our deeds. That it does say specifically in the Bible. It says that we are. Let me see. One moment. So we have Romans 2:6. There's many different translations, but I'm going to go with NLT. So he will judge everyone according to what they have done. So according to our deeds, he will repay us, and he will judge us to what he feels is fair, okay? So no one has a scapegoat when it comes to their sin. That nobody has any right to say, well, it was their fault. Oh, it was because I was in this situation. Like, you cannot justify for any sin that you do or any form of wickedness that you do, because the Lord will not tempt us any greater than what we cannot handle. So everyone has self-control to overcome sin of no matter what kind. All right. So therefore, God is fair. He treats all people the same way. All right. So yeah, so I'm amazed to see that he's gonna take him through this process. And I'm just seeing one of the nurses, and she's like in tears, and it looks like she is not working there anymore. From what I'm receiving, she's not working there anymore. I'm thinking maybe like a termination, maybe a 007. But yeah, so I'm amazed to see that the Lord is going to do great works, because yeah, the Lord sees all. I just heard of I just thought of a verse of the book of Psalms where he says it all over, like how like the wicked, they say like, oh, God cannot see me. Like, God cannot see me. He doesn't hear me. He doesn't this, because there's people who do wickedness and they think that they're going to get away with things. So, and the Lord sees all. So we definitely want to pray Psalm 91 hedge of protection over the patients, that they are going to receive the proper care, that the Lord will convict their hearts to see them for as not what the industry teaches them, but to see his people and his patients for what the Lord has placed into their heart, what the Lord has placed into them, to see them for mothers, fathers. Like, the Lord has this beautiful way of seeing us like children. He has this beautiful like eyes, like that the way he looks at us in his eyesight is like we are like children. So we pray that they will have the same exact heart posture, revelation, that they will carry that same wisdom to see his people for what they are, God's children, in the name of Jesus. Yeah. I do also want to include, so the Lord from here on out is interceding, or has been interceding, doing the nurses' jobs. Okay, so he is angry. He is really angry that they treated her like that, because this entire dream, this dream that I had, is how he sees these protocols and procedures taking place. So even though things might look differently in the physical and everything was dramatized in the dream, that is what's actually taking place in the eyes and in the sight of God, was the dream over what was going on in reality, okay? So he let me know in the morning that there is a cry for justice from their husbands and their children, a great mourning, a righteous anger a righteous anger and a yearn to understand, like a yearn to try to understand from them, like to try to understand and to try to fight to try to fight to see why, what happened, what could they have done. A lot of their husbands and their families are seeing discrepancies in like what the patient was, like their health state before they were admitted versus how did things get worse in your care, and how did my wife die in your care. How is this possible? So he's showing me one man in specific. This man is he's real. He's real. So he is her husband, the patient's husband, um, in the dream. In Revelation, should I say, in Revelation. So he's supposed to symbolize her husband. Well, I'm sorry, I'm getting confused now. Okay, I'm getting a vision of a revelation of a husband, because again, these patients are being targeted. They're being targeted very specifically to not like when as they appear and look like the patient that was on the bed, because they want to keep things to a minimum. They don't want too much attention or too much suspicion. Like, why is it like there's too many people that have died that look like this? Something is wrong. So so there is a cry for justice from their children and from their husbands, specifically, as they go over to the hospital. They go over to the hospital and they talk to a doctor. In the dream, there was no doctor present. I believe that had there been a doctor present, things would have been differently. Things would have been done correctly, or as they should have. So, with this doctor, in specific, in this revelation, a husband goes in, like, his state of mind is in mourning, anguish, like, please, like stress, like, please help me, like, to understand, how could this have happened, how was this possible? And he's speaking to a doctor, and the doctor, in the physical, doctors cannot they can only display a certain amount of emotion as well. You know, they can't, they have to be very professional. But she, in the spiritual realm, was bearing a face of guilt. She had a face of guilt, and she had this face of like, I'm sorry. She had this face of like, I'm sorry. But you know, he's crying to the doctor like, what happened? And she's saying, I'm so sorry, sir. I'm sorry, Mr. whatever his last name could be. We did everything that we could. We did everything that we possibly could have done. There was nothing else that we could have done. And she's wearing guilt in her heart, and she's wearing guilt on her face. And she's like, I'm sorry. So, their family members know that injustice took place. Like for the patients that were targeted, their family members know that injustice and persecution is taking place in the facility, but they are there's a cry for justice because they cannot, like, they don't have evidence. They don't have evidence. They don't have anything to support their suspicions, but they know. Deep down inside, they know. The Lord has revealed to them that they know that it was an injustice. Yeah, and I did forget to mention that the nurses, they were all white. They were all white, young, Like I said, I think I said like 30s to 40s, maybe like at the very oldest 45. No, like 40s, yeah. And yeah, they were just really young. Um, this hospital, the Lord is not revealing to me what the name of the hospital is. He's not revealing any specifics other than it's in the Midwest. It's like this is taking place now in the Midwest. So, um, yeah, I just want to, yeah, so I just want to strongly suggest that you pray for protection over your loved ones, over your family members, that you pray for them to be covered at all times, to deliver them from any sicknesses, that the Lord covers them and delivers them from any illnesses, diseases, cancers, that the Lord will keep his hand over their lives, that the Lord will guide and lead anyone who is caring for them, that he will be on top of things through the nurses and the staff and the doctors and all things of that nature, that these doctors and these staff members will receive deliverance, will receive a refining of the heart, that no more will they have a heart of stone, but they shall receive a heart of flesh, that the Lord will create in them a new heart, that the Lord will renew with them a right spirit in the name of Jesus. And we just pray that you just be in prayer that that they will turn from their wicked ways. I'm seeing right now that there is okay. So I'm seeing right now there's a hospital bed. There's a hospital bed. Nurses. There's nurses, only nurses. No. Okay. So I'm seeing that there is a hospital bed and there is staff. And I have to assume that there's one doctor. Yeah. Ooh, okay. So there's one doctor right there in the midst, like huddled around the bed. Because remember, she had a face of guilt of I'm sorry. We did all that we could. Okay, so she's guilty by association. She was not in the room. She was not present in the room, this doctor, when everything took place, but she is a part of these procedures and these demonic procedures. She is standing there, and I know it's that doctor because I can't see their faces, but she's wearing a coat, a stethoscope, and then of course you also have the nurses, and they're just standing there, and I said like to so that way they turn from their wicked ways. They're standing there, and they go all together. They're like this, and they all have blood dripping from their hands. I go to look closely. I'm seeing Dr. Schmidt. He has blood on his hands. He has blood on his hands. Dr. Smith, though, like he really cares for those patients, even though he really cares for them deep down in his heart, and he wants to do something about it. He wants to save their lives and to resuscitate them. He can take measures by taking initiative to go anyways. In a Grey's Anatomy, that's what he is known for, by like taking initiative to just do it. Even though it's high risk, he just does it because he believes that will save the patient. So Dr. Schmidt is guilty by participating because he can take initiative to just do it anyways, to just forget the authority, and he also can take this over to the board of directors to warn them, to notify them that this evil is taking place. That way they can investigate the nurses. That way they can investigate into documentation, and they can overall create a big impact that can bring the greater good into this hospital. So he is guilty by association. His heart posture is right, but his deeds are wicked by association. Okay? With sin, everybody is held accountable to what they do. Everybody is, no matter what. So, yeah, wow. Yeah, there was so many of them crowded by the bed, and they all just had, yeah. So, I just want you guys all to take this back over to the Lord If you need more clarification, if you need anything, please just pray. Pray for your family. Pray for your people. Pray for the doctors. Pray for big deliverance, big healing, and a big glorious testimony to pour from the heavens.